My name is Andrew Chung. I use he, him pronouns. I'm in my 5th year, and I'm studying psychology, cognitive science, as well as a minor in the history and philosophy of science. First year was very challenging for me as a student. Academically, on paper, I was very well done, but I think personally I was struggling existentially. But then thankfully, I opened up to my parents for the first time, and that really that was one of the sparking moments in my life where I felt like, oh, actually I really like this idea of wellness and want to explore it more. And I realized one of the reasons why so I was in first year, I was studying biology, and for the reason was to understand more about cancer research, which was what caused the death of one of my family friends' mother. But then I realized no, biology isn't really right for me. What I'm more interested in is how do we work with that suffering. And so I think that's what kind of got me interested in taking that Buddhism course, even if I wasn't interested in religion. But then I realized, wait, actually this is interesting and really fun, and I want to keep exploring it. Beginning of fourth year, I was in one of my friends, Merdula. She was presenting her work at the Ease Lab for the first time, and then I said, okay, why not? I'll go. And then that's where I met Ellie, and then she was kind of hinting that she wants to bring more students to Plum Village, which is related to Thich Nhat Hanh's work. And I was like, really? Yeah, okay, so we did. You just imagine you're in southern France. You're actually it's kind of shameful to have your phone around. So you don't have your phone, and you're really just there with everyone who has this kind of energy that wants to really presence. It's a lot of presence, and then it's a very unique flavor to live in and to be around. And that's really kind of helped me aspire to how I want to live my life. And that kind of being surrounded in that kind of peace for, let's say, a couple days or a week there was this one moment near the end of the retreat where I felt this kind of really calmness and peaceness, practicing mindfulness every day, where I was it's really transformed my relationship with my anxiety, I would say. I used to be someone, and also historically with my family, we tend to have a neurotic tendency, but I think, not just the retreat, but also just so many experiences after that retreat, I've learned to deal with that or manage that relationship in a very new way where I'm much more in peace with my future. I was really worried. I mean, I'm someone who's about to graduate. There's a lot of uncertainty about what I want to do in the future, as well as the uncertainty about finding jobs, but that doesn't really worry me as much. I mean, obviously I'm still stressed or worried, but I don't have that kind of same existential dread anymore, because the practices I've experienced in Plum Village, walking meditation, eating mindfully, learning how to listen to others, how to speak mindfully, all those kind of little practices really made it much more easier for me to realize oh, I don't really have to worry about the future. I just have to be alive in the moment. This importance of I think it was Francis who shared this idea of transdisciplinary. I think that's something I really gained from this program, and that's something that is not uniquely found in any of my experiences in psychology. And I think some examples are I don't think you would be able to understand the effectiveness or the impact being in a retreat setting and experiencing that presence. I think it's just right now with the research we have available, it's really challenging to kind of capture that in traditional psychology methods, which often tend to prioritize quantitative measures, and you just can't really explain that in that level of depth into what that kind of impact that might have. And I think oftentimes what this program has showed me, really this importance of community and wellness, or that social aspect of wellness. And I think there is a lot of literature around that in psychology, but I think again, it's also still underemphasized in terms of like the quality of social relationships and why that also matters. Often, like you can see, like one example we learned in my psych seminar course, we learned about like there's like the World Happiness Report, and they shared a really cool, interesting work around how Latin America tends to prioritize like social relationships and with like families, and that might have some impact on life satisfaction. But like you don't really see the details of what is actually going on in that social cultural context of like what is happening in those relationships. And I think that's something I think I have lived experienced in going to Plum Village, and that's something I think is remarkable and often needs to have more emphasis, especially in not just research, but also, we'll just stick with, a lot of in research. And then one other really big, interesting idea is something this program, and this is primarily from the specific tradition which informs a lot of the Buddhism's courses here, which is from the Plum Village tradition, which really emphasizes practicality and pragmatic application of mindfulness. And I think that is something that really informs my research interests now. I think we have a lot of really cool, interesting work that looks at the effectiveness of different interventions, and that's what kind of started the whole mindfulness movement. When we saw how mindfulness helps with stress. There's a lot of cool work around seeing the effectiveness of different interventions, but I find that it's not like why should we do that if no one's going to actually practice those interventions? We know physical activity is great, but what's the point of it if no one's actually going to the gym? Or another way, a really important one, we know that loneliness is really harmful for humans, and yet how do you actually design something that's practically works to help support people? And I think this program, BPMH program, has actually offered me specific tools in how I can address some of these issues early on, experiment with it. And it's like a new way of conducting research that has its own methods of rather than focusing on big systemic, large, randomized controlled trials. Yes, those are important, but also we should also look at
let's also tinker around those small changes, making for example, I led after I went to the Plum Village Plum Village retreat, I led a training workshop for residence dons. So residence dons are student mentors who help live in with students and residents to help support their transition into residence life, and especially for first year students. And so I am one of them. I've been doing that for 2 years, and I helped, after going to Plum Village, I led a workshop around how can we facilitate difficult conversations using applied mindfulness. And so being able to tinker around and trying to make small adjustments to how we deliver programs or how we deliver interventions, I think pairs really nicely with these large, randomized controlled trials we have. And not to say one is better than another, but I do think having both would be really, really cool. And that's something I learned from being in this program, and something I hope to continue pursuing after I graduate.